Hello. So UK's entered into another lockdown at the moment. Getting very difficult to get out. So I thought I'd just record some stuff from home, from the office, and hopefully a bit more of a sort of insight into tutorials and that type of thing, and some comments. I mean, I had some comments in some of my YouTubes about how do you do this, how do you do that. So I thought it'd be a good idea just to record some of those while we're on this lockdown situation. We can't get out too much. So we're going to try and do a bit in the garden as well at the same time. But yeah, hopefully these will give you a little bit of help. So what we're going to talk about today is back button focus. Now, I struggle to say that quite often. So what I might do throughout the video, if I do get it wrong, I'm going to record how many times I get it wrong, because I'm sure I will. But this was a request from one of my subscribers, Carl, who said he's fairly new, I think, to photography, so he's setting up various things, and he was interested in how to use back button focus. So what we're going to talk about is how to set that up, and also what the benefits are of back button focus, particularly with wildlife photography. So what we've got here is I've got my Canon 7D Mark II set up here. I've got my iPhone, which is actually recording the back of the Canon. I've actually ordered a bit of kit that will actually allow me to record direct off the camera, but I don't have that yet, so we're just going to record that through the iPhone. I'm actually recording the vlog on the 5D Mark IV, so hopefully that's going to work out okay. And yeah, we're going to try and give you an insight into this. So what is back button focus? Normally when you're using the camera, when the camera's first set up, we use the front button on the camera, and if you depress it halfway down, that will normally focus, and it will also take the exposure reading. And then when we press the front button fully down, that's when we take the photo. So what this allows us to do is take away the focusing from that front button. So all that front button is going to do is going to record the exposure levels and get the metering right, and we focus using the button on the back of the camera. So this takes a little bit of getting used to start off with, but once you get used to it, trust me, you will never want to go back. And what this allows you to do is pretty well instantaneously switch between manual focus and automatic focus just by using that button constantly while you're doing your photography. So what we're going to do, we're going to first of all make sure that we're set up in AI server mode. So we're going to go into the actual menus on the back of the camera. We've got here our autofocus methods. One shot is fine, you know, with one shot you'll focus, you'll take the shot, and then you'll refocus again and take the shot. What we're doing with wildlife, we're on AI server, which means the camera is constantly focusing. And what that's going to do is while we're holding this back button down, the camera is going to be constantly focusing. As soon as we let go of that button, the focus will lock. So that's where we get this great advantage between being able to sort of focus manually, lock the focus, and constantly focus just by fingers on and off that back button there. So first of all, let's look at how we set up that back button to actually use as a focus point. So we're going to go into the menus, and in the menus, obviously I'm using a Canon here. Other cameras are probably fairly similar, got similar setups. Apologies, I can only tell you how to do it on the Canon, but you know, you will find these things in the menus on Nikon, Sony, and other cameras, obviously. So I'm going to go in, and on the Canon we're looking for this orange menu, and then we're going to go across, keep flicking through until we find custom controls. So this is what we're looking for, custom controls down here, and we're going to enter into custom controls. And as you'll see, we've got the various operations of the different buttons listed in here. And the one we're going to do, so the top one we're on now, as you can see here, which is highlighted, that's actually the front button. So if we go into there, mine's already set, but we want to make sure that we're not set on autofocus and metering. So we want to move that into just metering mode only. Yep, so that's the first thing we do. So that's now taken away from the front button the actual facility to focus. What we're then going to do is set this back button that's marked AF on the back of the camera to do the focusing for us. So if we just drop down the menu slightly, so you can see we've now moved down and we're sitting on this AF back button. If we select that, and then what we want to do is make sure that that is on this first one here, which is the metering and focusing. Yeah, so that's going to meter for us and it's going to focus for us. All the front button do, as I say, is going to take the picture basically. So that's fine. When we're on that, we can come out of that menu and that's it. We're set up. We've disabled the autofocus on the front button and now we're doing all the focusing from this rear button on the camera. So we can come out and that's all set for us to go. So let's see if we can demonstrate what's happening here. It's going to be a little bit difficult here because it's quite low light, so the ISOs are going to be high and it is, you know, it might be a bit grainy, but it should demonstrate what we're doing. So we're actually going to go into live view mode here. So what we can see is at the moment we're actually focused on these keys down here. What happens is if we have the if we don't have the back button depressed, then as we move from there to a different position, the camera won't refocus. As soon as we depress that back button down, you'll see it refocuses on the subject we've moved to. If we maintain that button and hold that button down, as we move around, the camera will automatically refocus wherever we're going. And then again, if we let go of it, we can stay focused in that area, we can recompose, and it doesn't lose the focus from that area. So if you imagine, say, a bird in a tree, once we've got that focus positioned and we're happy that we've got the focus, if the bird's not going to move, then you can just release the back button and the focus will stay in the same place if you want to recompose, or if a branch blows across the front of the bird or whatever, then the focus won't adjust. But once you've got that back button pressed in, the focus will then just refocus, because we've got it in AI servo, it'll refocus constantly. And quite often, if a bird in flight, for example, you want to just hold that back button down, because as you're tracking that bird as it goes across the scene, then with that back button held down, the focus will constantly keep focusing on the bird, and that's what you want. So the only time you're really going to release it, from my point of view, I think, is when you've got something stationary, and then you're okay to release it. But even then, for me, quite often, if it's stationary and there's nothing around it or nothing flapping in front of it, I will tend to still hold that back button down to keep that focus on the subject. So that's it. So that's back button focus. Not difficult, we're just taking the focus away from the front button and moving it to the back button. A little bit of getting used to, you know, then as soon as, you know, once you've got that back button and you're holding it down to get your focus, you can shoot away to your heart's content and you'll get everything in focus. So yeah, hopefully that's worked. Hopefully you can see that okay. If you've got any questions, do drop them in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you, great to hear what you think. If you've got anything else, any ideas that you'd like to see as well that I can try and explain, I'll certainly do that for you, do my best to do that. But in the meantime, whatever you're doing, have a great day and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye for now.